Don't fool yourself. Deep down, they know who you are.
I'm Violet.
You're whatever the I want you to be.
What happens when a birthday prank goes horribly, horribly wrong? Well, if you're in a 90s teen movie, you cover it up, manipulate your friends, and try to slay while getting away with murder. Jawbreaker is a fever dream of high school hierarchy, deception, and some of the most diabolical mean girl behavior ever put on screen. It's dark, it's campy, and somehow it makes you kinda root for the villain. Between Courtney's iron grip on her so-called friends, Fern's ridiculous transformation into Violet, and Julie trying to have a moral compass, this movie is a lot. And with this being said, while watching this movie, I noticed some things and I have my thoughts. But before we get to that, it's time to recap. So let's get into it. This movie starts with us meeting the beautiful ones, Courtney, Marcy, Julie, and Liz Purr. I love that name, Liz Purr. Apparently, everyone loved Liz because she was popular, beautiful, but most of all, sweet. And while Liz had everything going for her, homegirl needed some better friends. The morning of her 17th birthday, Liz was startled awake by her friends and kidnapped. They stuffed a big-ass Jawbreaker into her mouth, taped her mouth shut, and dumped her in a trunk to take her to breakfast. When they arrived at their breakfast spot, a deadly surprise awaited all of them.
Oh my god.
This is a joke, right? This is a total joke. Say it's a joke.
I just didn't want her to scream.
Oh god.
Child, how do you kill your best friend on her birthday? Anyway, the girls started freaking out about what they just done. Well, Marcy and Julie were freaking out. Courtney was plotting. She called the school posing as Liz's mom and told them she was sick. Courtney pulled the girls together when they arrived at school.
Liz is in the trunk of this car, and she is dead. But you are gonna walk into that school and strut your shit down the hallway like everything is peachy fucking keen. Get it?
As the girls tried to resume their normal routine, we briefly meet another character, Fern. We'll see more of her later. But the girls get prepped and pretty for their day, despite being adolescent murderers. Miss Sherwood came into the bathroom to see which one of the girls would take Liz her work for the day. They agreed to do it, and she sent them on their way. Julie was on the verge of having a breakdown from the very start. As the day went on and Liz was still marinating in Courtney's trunk, the girls spent their lunch period plotting about what to do with Liz. Courtney came up with a bright idea to set up her body to appear as if she'd been raped. Fern came in to speak with Miss Sherwood. Since the girls were late to pick up Liz's work for the day, Miss Sherwood asked Fern if she'd do it, and Fern was delighted to.
I know a senior named Elizabeth Purr.
You mean meow?
Excuse me?
Liz is the cat's meow.
Listen, Fern really creeped me out. As the girls were leaving school, they ran into Miss Sherwood, who told them that Fern would be taking Liz's work home to her. Since the girls had to get there before Fern, they jet off to Liz's place to place her in her bed and set up the scene. While Marcy and Courtney set up Liz in the bed, Julie is distracted by their pictures on Liz's vanity.
What are you doing to me?
Oh my god.
What are you doing to me?
I'm so sorry.
Meanwhile, Fern had just arrived at Liz's house. Of course, the girls left the door open, so she walked right on in. Marcy freaks out and tells the girls that they should turn themselves in, but Courtney wanted to stick to her flawed plan, leading Julie to state the obvious.
You can't just say that she's because she's lying on the bed with her legs spread.
Meanwhile, Fern overheard all of this, and shortly after, she came face to face with the girls. Courtney immediately started to feel Fern out to gauge how she could manipulate her into secrecy. When Courtney pressures her to reveal what she heard, Fern sees Liz's dead body and runs out of the house. Somehow, some way, they catch her, and the mind games begin. So, in exchange for her silence, Courtney agrees to grant her a spot in their tainted friend group, a makeover in exchange for silence. Ciao. Diabolical work. 90s movies swore that makeovers solved every problem. To their credit, the girls did a great job with Fern. And low-key, all these girls were serving body, especially Rose. Days later, Liz's parents discovered her body and the fuckery begins. Around this time, Julie opted to depart from their friend group. The guilt was too much to bear, but she did tell the girls that Liz's parents found her that morning. Courtney threatened to frame her for Liz's death if she spoke one word.
Listen, bitch. One word and you're over. I mean that.
First things first, the girls don't eat at lunch, and they don't eat out of paper bags.
We never, ever eat at lunch period. I get a zip because of this.
I'm sorry.
For some reason, they changed Fern's name as if she was a new student. And I know she may look really different right now, but there is no way you can fool everybody into thinking she's new to the school. The lead detective of Liz's case, Vera Cruz, came to the school to investigate. Meanwhile, Julie gets a ride from Zach since she could no longer get a ride with Courtney. And the girls were leaving Julie in the past.
It's called demented. No, seriously, the color's called demented. Mine, decayed. Like Julie, rotten.
Julie and Zach hit it off. She even gives him her number. This girl is probably finally enjoying a bit of freedom. Later, Julie looks over old photos of the girls. She gets the urge to call Fern and warn her about the girls. Apparently, Fern and Julie were friends at one point. She admitted to Fern that she was scared, and at this point, we can see that Julie is the more empathetic friend. Courtney, not so much.
Hello?
Never answer after one ring. What were you thinking,
Oh,
Violet?
hi, Courtney.
When I call, you listen. I don't care if your little sister locks herself in the kitchen freezer. Courtney Shane is priority one.
Courtney gets a little kinky with Dane while they're in the middle of whatever they were doing. Cops knock on Courtney's door to bring her in for questioning. Meanwhile, in Marcy's house, her father was trying his best to get through to her.
I was watching Oprah today, and you know what the topic was? It was, is your child a follower?
I'm done.
And you know what?
Can I go now?
Julie was still in her feelings about Liz. She's the only one who's showing some form of regret about what happened. Detective Cruz questioned the girls. Marcy and Julie were emotional and nervous, but Courtney was as cool as a cucumber. Julie continues to deal with the death of Liz on her own. Meanwhile, Detective Cruz learns that Liz's mom didn't make the call to the school, and she questioned Miss Shepard about who took her assignments home. Miss Shepard tells her about Fern, but funny thing, Fern has been absent from school for a few days, but Violet has been there every day and on time. Again, how are they acting like this girl is that unrecognizable to the point where she can live her life as a new student on campus? Be for real. Violet starts to gain a little popularity of her own outside of the girls. Courtney planned to set Fern up with Zach, the same guy Julie was now talking to, by signing her up for a school play. While Courtney was signing her up, Julie walked up and tried to speak to Fern, but Courtney let her know that Fern no longer existed.
My name's Violet.
Learn it. Live it. Love it.
We'll be calling her Violet from now on. Julie meets up with Zach in the school theater, and Zach and she talk. He revealed that he'd always liked her, and their love story began. He takes her to his hideout spot, an abandoned drive-in. Detective Cruz speaks with Violet. She tells her that she would rather go by Violet now, since Fern was a childhood nickname. She tells Cruz about Liz and how she knew her. Baby, why did Violet sound like a deranged stan?
She has this cluster of beauty marks on the back of her neck, and I know this sounds weird. I've found salmon swimming upstream on the back of that neck.
Very interesting.
This girl is so weird. Cruz wasn't able to pull anything out of her, and she allowed her to leave. But that doesn't mean Violet wasn't affected by Liz and what happened to her. Homegirl was now having nightmares. Courtney was still plotting, so she called Detective Cruz and told a story about Liz being a sex addict. Meanwhile, Violet was using her power and influence. She took Julie's assigned seat and set her sights on Zach, Julie's man. While Courtney nearly ran over Julie in her convertible, Violet pulled up in a cherry red Corvette. Something tells me Courtney is not going to like this. Later, Zach told Julie about Violet trying out for the play. She tells him that Violet is Fern. After Zach questions why Courtney would invest her time into Fern, Julie reveals what really happened to Liz. Zach insists that she has to tell someone what happened. Courtney told the girl she was taking Dane to the prom and was determined to make him prom king. Marcy warned Courtney that she was losing control of Violet, but Courtney wasn't worried about it just yet. Child, tell me why Violet was quickly gaining even more influence and beginning to overshadow Courtney. And Courtney had to correct that expeditiously.
Don't fool yourself. Deep down, they know who you are.
I'm Violet.
You're whatever the fuck I want you to be.
Unfortunately, Violet was no one to intimidate.
I know the truth. I know what really happened, Courtney.
I made you, and I can break you just as easily.
Good idea. Kill me like you did Liz.
Meanwhile, Zach convinced Julie to talk to Cruz about Courtney. Unfortunately, Cruz accepted Courtney's lie about Liz being a sex addict. Turns out, Courtney had sex with someone in Liz's bed to solidify what she told Cruz. The next day, Violet was reintroduced to her old self, and it was safe to say she couldn't handle the memory.
It's over, bitch.
When Zach and Julie made it to school, poor Fern was still laying on the floor. I guess nobody bothered to pick her up. Fern eventually apologized to Julie. Courtney and Marcy interrupted this reconciliation. Julie confronted Courtney about framing some random for Liz's murder.
It's over, Courtney. I'm petrified.
Zach insisted they go to the prom to confront Courtney and reveal the truth. Julie didn't want to participate, but that would soon change. While Julie was home, her mom brought in some things that Liz's mom brought over for her. One of those things was the card with the recording of Courtney confessing that she killed Liz. So Julie rushed over to the prom with Zach and Fern. We fast forward to Miss Shepherd announcing the prom king and queen. While she does that, Zach sneaks backstage to play the card on the intercom as Courtney accepts her award. And finally, the truth came out.
I
killed Liz. I killed the teen dream. Deal with it. I killed Liz. I killed the teen dream.
And instead of pig blood, Courtney's ambushed with corsages and shame.
Smile pretty, Courtney.
And that's the end of the movie. And here are my final thoughts. I really feel like Courtney always had it out for Liz. Did she kill her on purpose? I wouldn't put it past her, but at the very least, she was completely unbothered by her death. If anything, she almost seemed turned on. Maybe Liz was a threat to her in some way. With her gone, Courtney had full control over the group, and that power made her true colors impossible for Julie to ignore. Marcy, on the other hand, was a follower. She never questioned anything because standing on her own wasn't a desire for her. Liz and Julie were different. They had their own minds. That's probably why they were the only ones in the group who managed to show even the slightest bit of kindness to Fern. What's wild is that they could have just left Liz in her bed and called it a day. As messed up as that still would have been, it would have been a whole lot better than the disaster they created. Instead, they went full supervillain, staging a crime scene and even setting up some random guy to take the fall. It was pure chaos. And how wild was it that Fern was so invisible, she managed to reinvent herself completely, walking around the same school like a brand new student and nobody even batted an eye. Not one person was like, wait a minute, don't I know you? That alone says a lot. What's even funnier is that as Violet, she actually stood out, which immediately put her on Courtney's radar as a threat. Speaking of, Courtney was way too demanding as a friend. Like, we have to be on call for you 24/7, follow you around, ride to school with you, kiss your ass all day, every day. Girl, that's too much. That's not a friendship. That's a full-time job, no benefits. I'd rather be a loner. And honestly, even though Courtney was the one who stuffed that Jawbreaker in Liz's mouth, Julie and Marcy weren't exactly innocent. They knew the truth and said nothing. They should have been held accountable too. And don't get me wrong, seeing Courtney get carried at prom was satisfying, But we needed to see her in handcuffs, jail time, hard time. Because let's be real, she deserved way more than just an embarrassing moment at prom. But say what you want, the costume designer did their best work. I want every outfit, every single one. Anyway, that's it for this recap. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. As for the next recap, all I'm going to say is 2011. This film is about secrets, stories, and a particular kind of homemade revenge. Let's just say, if you're going to be a bigot, avoid the pie. See you next time, you guys. Bye.